They told us the hunting industry was full.
That every story had already been told.
And every spot was already on a map.
But we aren't here to follow the crowd.
We're here to keep the traditions alive.
And do it entirely
our way. I'm Alex.
I'm Gracie.
I'm Larry.
And we're Badger State Pursuits.
Welcome back to Badger State Pursuits. I'm currently standing on the 7th tee box of my home course here in Wisconsin, and this is my pastime that I do a lot. I do a lot of golf between turkey season and deer season happens, and it's my way of passing the time before I get back into a tree. But speaking of getting back into a tree, I reached out to Larry and Gracie this week, and I told them to come up with 3 stories that they could tell me about their favorite hunting stories of their life. Doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be a harvest. It can be anything they like, any memory they have. And so they sent me a couple of things, and they knocked it out of the park. They did a fantastic job. So to kind of fill the time between turkey season and deer season, I'm going to kick it over to Larry first, and then we'll talk to Gracie for a little bit, and they're going to tell you some stories. And like I said, they did a fantastic job. So listen to these stories. It's cool to listen. It's cool to hear. Put yourself in those situations. Hear the excitement in their voice. Larry's even got the mounts out for you guys to see. So enjoy this. We'll come back here. I'll talk about my stories in a little bit. But let's to these guys first.
So one of my favorite hunting stories is this buck right here, which is my biggest buck ever. It was October 18th, 2018, and you had some bad weather coming in, and I just didn't really feel like going out, but I did anyways. And I remember sitting in the stand and kind of just leaning forward, and I texted Cass, my now wife, and said, I just don't feel like I'm going to be seeing anything today. Sent the text and sat back in my chair, and this deer walks out at maybe 10 yards. And when I first seen him, all I could see was the spread here. I was like, oh boy, that's a big deer. And got him stopped at about 25 yards and just let him have it. Shortly after that, you watch him run off, and I sat in the stand. Buck fever sets in, starts shaking like crazy. And I text my boss, a buddy of mine, and say, hey, I just shot a big one. Not really sure how big, but he looked nice. And then it started to downpour. And we looked, he got there about 7 o'clock, and we looked for blood, any kind of trail. We couldn't find anything. And so after I had shot him, he ran right along a fence line. So it's like, well, we'll follow the fence line and see if we can get up into the woods. Last place I seen him. And yep, walked right up there, and there he was laying there. Just a beautiful, beautiful deer. One of the coolest hunts I've been on. And I'm just so happy with this deer. Like I said, my biggest buck to date at that. Scored 142 gross, 148 net. So definitely one of my favorite hunts.
We are coming up to where I shot my first ever deer, which was a 3-pointer. Here we are. So let me just put this apart. So I was sitting in the stand, and I actually shot him like right there, so it was not far. But it was funny because how old was I? It was like back then when you had to take hunter safety, and so was I like 12 or something? Is that when you first could start hunting? My dad and I were sitting together, and this buck comes walking up, and I'm ready, you know. And I don't know if I was nervous. I don't know what was happening, but my dad was like, shoot, shoot, shoot. Boom, I pulled the trigger and I got him. But it was just funny. Like, I don't know if I was nervous. I don't know, but I don't know. It was a very cool moment to share with my dad.
One story that sticks with me the most is my first buck ever I shot on public, and I thought I was the coolest person alive. You know, I was watching all these guys on YouTube, the Hunting Public, Dan Infall, Joe Rentmeester, all these guys, and you know, they're carrying their stands on their backs, and they're walking in, and they're scouting, and they're putting up cameras, and I was just trying to be just like them. I was freshman, sophomore in college, and bought a hang-on stand that was 17 million gazillion pounds. Probably was a stand that was made to be like set up and then left up, but I'm taking it down every night. Big steel beams, heavier than heavy, and was not convenient to carry, plus all your other equipment. But one afternoon I went out and I was just roaming on Onyx, and I found a piece I was never been to before, and parked the truck, walked back almost a mile with this stuff on my back. I mean, I was dead. I mean, just exhausted. And I get back to the corner of this piece and find a tree, and I'm still seeing boot tracks and, you know, just a mess. But I walked a mile back here with this heavy stand on my back. I'm going to set up. And picked a tree. It took me about a half hour to set up because I was so tired. I remember a moment where I finally got the stand in the tree, the sticks hung, and I climbed back down, and I was so tired I just sat against the base of the tree for like 10 minutes, just having a heart attack basically. But climbed up, grunted a few times. It was November 14th, and fresh snow on the ground, and I literally had just said to myself, the odds of me seeing something are slim to none, like slim to none. Just my luck, right? I walk all the way back here, hang the stand, you know, nothing. Didn't even really find much deer sign. I don't know why I even set up there, to be honest. Just done carrying that stuff. Grunted one time, and all of a sudden, no joke, 15 minutes later, I look up and here comes a buck walking down this trail behind me. I could care less how big it was. I was so excited to be in a spot that I picked out. I found it. I did all the work, you know, all those kind of things. And stopped him at about 30 yards and let her rip and made a perfect shot. He only went 25, 30 yards and piled up. The inside joke behind this story, though, is two buddies came out to help me track it, and one of them didn't have boots. And so I'm sitting by a river telling this story because there was a river in this scene, and one of my buddies didn't have the right boots. It's November 14th, and we had to cross water, and he decided to wear cowboy boots and just got absolutely soaked. So we crossed the river, got the deer, dragged the deer across the water, drag it a mile back with all my stuff, the stand and all the stuff, heavy. He had to cross the water again in his cowboy boots. We get all the way back to the car, and I realized I didn't have a knife. Rookie mistake. So we're calling people around, seeing who can come out and help us gut this deer out. One of our buddies answers the phone. He's like, yeah, I got a knife. So he drives out there and picks us up, or drops the knife off. And we get it, and we open up the sheath, and it is an orange butter knife. It's literally an orange, color orange, and it's no different than a butter knife. And that's all we had, but we made it work. We got that thing gut with a butter knife. I was driving a 2001 stick shift. I can't even remember what the name of the car was. And we tied that baby onto the top of the car, and I took the longest way home possible, driving by as many highways, businesses as I could, with this little basket rack 6-pointer attached to the top of my little car. And I was so proud of that thing. I thought I was on cloud 9 the rest of the day with that. And so that's what sticks with me for a while is those memories of that, you know, the buddies coming out to help. And now the inside joke is from then on, every time I shoot a deer, I always make sure I tell people to bring boots and always have my knife with me.
It was 2022, I believe. And I had seen this buck bow hunting and came up straight behind me. Never really knew he was there, just happened to glance back and seen his horns. And he comes walking out, does it perfectly. I draw back to shoot 25 yards broadside, and as I let go my release, my arrow snapped. One half went this way, the other half went complete opposite. And the buck takes off, and I figured I'd have been close to, you know, bedding area of his when I snuck in there. So I decided pull out, you know, we're gonna leave that stand alone for a little while. And the very next day he was back on camera in that area. So I decided, well, I'm gonna hunt there. And I go hunt there and he doesn't show up. I'm like, all right. Next day I go hunt somewhere else and he shows up. And it was just a constant cat and mouse battle with this buck that bow season. So I nicknamed him Lucky. Fast forward to the next year, bow season, you know, food plot season comes, you know, you're planting, you know, trying to get an inventory on bucks that made it through, and he never shows up on camera. So I figure, well, neighbor got him, or, you know, old age got to him, coyotes, who knows. So hunt all bow season, never see him, never shot a buck that year, bow season. And come gun season, I'm sitting there and I look over about 250 yards and I see a nice buck standing there. So start glassing on him and I realize that this deer I'm staring at has a good chance of being lucky. So I decided that I'm gonna take the shot, took the shot and filed him right up. And it was my first ever gun buck too, so kind of adds a little bit of sweetness to it as well. And as I walk up, like, yep, that's definitely Lucky. And one of the most noticeable features on him that, you know, that's definitely that deer, is he's got one eye that is blind, which I thought coolest thing, you know, to really mark the deer that way. And just the history with this deer was just a cool story, and it was just real fun to be able to close a chapter on a buck like this.
All right, now I'm just going to a spot for a little story time for you. This had to have been 2 years ago. None of our family had a bear tag, but one of my dad's friends did, and we had a couple bear coming in, so we're gonna let him hunt. And so during the day, I was coming out and baiting at the same time because the bear kept coming in pretty steady. Well, I was running a little late the one day. And a little background information about me, I do like adrenaline. Like, I've been skydiving before and all that. So anyways, I'm coming out and I see a mom and 2 cubs in. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna still bait. Like, I'm fine. And, you know, most people would probably turn around and just come back later, which I got an earful from my dad saying how I was pretty stupid, but it's fine. I'm alive. But anyways, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna keep going. So I come and I decided to keep baiting the bear. And the mom and the 1 cub ran off not very far, so kind of like that tree. Well, one of the cubs ran up that tree. So I'm out here, you know, doing my thing, getting the food in the log and everything, and here comes the mom. She steps out and she thinks I'm gonna, you know, hurt her little cub, but wasn't gonna. But anyways, it was like me to the doorway. Like, it was not very far. And so I just kept baiting and I went off and it just watched me, and the cub came down as I was driving off. But yeah, my dad saw on camera that I was very close to a mama bear. But hey, sometimes you just gotta keep going, you know?
One of my top stories that I have is a buck that I shot in 2020, and the whole storyline is pretty cool of how it all happened. I was in college and driving home on a weekend. I was driving up on a Friday, and I looked out in this field, and there was some deer out there, and I never really looked at the property before, and I looked on X, and it was public. So on my way back home that Sunday, I stopped there, put some boots on the ground, put a camera out over a scrape that I found, and I didn't have cell cams back then, so I just put a camera up and left. So that was a Sunday. So then that following Wednesday, I went out and checked the trail camera, and there was some nice bucks on it. So that was Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Monday came around, and I went and sat for the first time on this piece, and I sat right over where the camera was. And the way this piece set up, it was a alfalfa field that butt up to some thick timber, and about 300 yards down the woods line from the parking lot, the timber kind of made a U shape. And so I was sitting in the bottom part of that U, if you will, but I could still see down the wood line into the alfalfa field. And so I sat there all night, and about 6 o'clock, a doe came out down towards the road, like right next to the road, and following her was a really nice buck. So couldn't get them to come over to me, but I realized I made the decision that the next time I come here, I'm gonna go sit down where they came out. And on the way out in the dark, I looked, and there was a pretty heavy trail coming out of that corner. But I was a little reluctant. You know, I've been watching a lot of these videos, you know, the Hunting Public guys and all these other guys talking about how, you know, you gotta get deep, you gotta go farther back. And so, like I said, this was 150, 200 yards off the road, in a field, you know, like it wasn't like it was some hardwoods edge that I walked, you know, it's hard to get to. It's pretty easy. So that was a Monday. So then that Thursday, I went back out to that spot, October 30th, 2020, and went and sat in a tree that was right over that trail. Actually, I climbed a tree, hated the tree, it was right on top of the trail. So I moved off the trail a little bit, but my climber didn't fit the tree. So I found a little pine tree that I literally just climbed up in and sat on a log, or sat on a branch. I was only like 6 feet off the ground, and sat there, didn't see a thing all night. About 6:15, 6:30, I could hear a deer coming from behind me, but it walked like I never saw it. And I just assumed it was a buck. I don't know why. I don't know why I told myself it was, but I assumed it was one. So I waited till it got out of sight, out of earshot, and I grunted, and that thing came back on a dime and walked in front of me about 20 yards right in the opening of the field, and shot him from 6 feet off the ground. And that's my biggest buck to date. It was a 10-pointer, public land. It was just one of those stories one of those moments where the whole storyline of it happening, of finding a deer in a field, putting boots on the ground, putting a camera out, finding where the bucks were, sitting it, moving stand locations to then shooting a deer, all within a week and a half. By far, that's my favorite hunting story. I appreciate you watching. Before you know it, we'll be out putting boots on the ground in real spots again out here, getting close, putting some cameras up. I got some cameras up still from last year yet that I want to move around, and it's June, end of June. Before you know it, it'll be September, October, and then those sweet November, baby. So stay tuned, stick with us, more content coming soon on Badger State Pursuits.